All right, guys, welcome. Live stream should be starting up right now. We have Thursday night football. Another, not the best matchup, but that's what you can expect a lot for Thursday night football. They put a lot of the not so good matchups here. But still, we have $1 million up top, right? We have a million maker almost every single show on slate besides the Sunday night show on slate. So, gonna do the best to break this down for you guys. Again, it's gonna be a Q&A live stream, so feel free to leave any sort of questions in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. Make sure you specify whether or not you're playing cash or GPP. That is pretty important, obviously. So, news-wise, there's one piece of news. Well, a couple pieces of news to go over. Okay, so T. Higgins is out, right? That's confirmed. He was confirmed out a couple days ago. Surprise here, though, Carlos Hyde inactive, right? He's been the backup running back for the Jags. So what that does is, let's scroll down. Where is he? Dare Ogunbowale is now going to be the backup at $200. How much work does he get? I don't think he gets a ton of carries, but I don't think James Robinson plays 100% of snaps. I would expect Dare to get a couple of looks here. So he's someone I think you can look to in large field tournaments, obviously really, really cheap. So, yeah, that's it. Oh, one more piece of news, too, is the tight end for the Jags. Dan Arnold is active. Now, I was looking up news on Twitter. Still don't have confirmation how much he's going to play. My guess is it's not that much, but you never know, right? It's a short week, and he just got traded. But he is going to be available, so that does throw a wrench into it with both tight ends, him and Hollister. But, yeah, that's the big pieces of news to go over. So, if you guys are just coming in, make sure to hit that like button, please. It does help me out a lot. And yeah, leave some questions in the chat. So let's start it off again. Can't talk. I'll be live for a good 30 minutes here. What a terrible slate. Yeah, I mean the Thursday night football slate's never going to be the best matchups. Carlos Hyde out. Yep, inactive. So Dare Ogunbowale viable for sure. Robinson captain, I think will be a lower-owned captain for Jacksonville. Does his workload go up? I think there's a chance it does. I also think there's a chance that just Dare gets the Carlos Hyde work. Could go either way. Again, I don't think James Robinson plays 100% of snaps, so I do expect Dare to be out there a bit. So is it a slight boost to Robinson? Maybe. Maybe he gets a few extra snaps. He's obviously very involved in the passing game. That does boost his floor. I don't think he's going to be super popular. Right? I think that Bengals stack, maybe with a Jaguars receiver bring back, I think it's going to be a pretty popular build. So I think just getting to a guy like James Robinson in general gets you a pretty unique lineup because you got to think of it like this, right? Mixon's going to be the chalk in the slate. I think everyone can agree Mixon is going to be probably the most popular play. So thinking about it like that, if Mixon's going to be the chalk, I don't think a lot of people are going to want to play both running backs together. So I think it's going to lower the ownership of James Robinson. I think he makes for a decent contrarian play. Rakan Tori, what's up, guys? How's it going? Overreacting to Hyde news. There's so Dare who will play. Yeah, I mean, that's what, my guess is Dare fills in for Carlos Hyde. Maybe James Robinson picks up a couple more snaps, but I'm not jamming in James Robinson, right? I think Dare just becomes a viable play. Yeah, good question. Auden Tate versus Mike Thomas is close. I'm going to lean the Auden Tate route, and the reason being is the snap counts, right? Auden Tate doubled up Mike Thomas, so I think there's no guarantee they play similar snap counts, but just going off last game, Auden Tate played 57% as opposed to Mike Thomas 21%, so over double, almost triple actually. So yeah, I think I would lean Auden Tate. Appreciate that, Matt. You still love Tate as good value. I'm just going to go, yeah, no, I think Tate's for sure playable, right? He's cheap. I think he plays around half the game, maybe a little bit more. He had some good games last year. If you guys remember, the Bengals were banged up at wide receiver. Auden Tate had some pretty good games. Yeah, Dare is good pass catcher, right? So he's firmly in play. He's $200. He is a good pass catching back. I would rather play Dare than Carlos Hyde. Assuming both were active and they were going to play the same, I would rather play Dare. I think he's more talented. So I do think Dare is viable. Single entry, go heavy Jags. I think it'll get you a pretty unique build if you go heavy Jags, right? I think the chalk build is going to be that Bengals onslaught and then maybe get a Jags wide receiver or two. Let's see. Captain Robinson or Jones in cash? So James Robinson or Marvin Jones in cash? I don't think I play either in cash. DJ Chark or Chenault to GPP? Chark probably has more upside, right? He's a guy that's running those deep routes. I think he's averaging over 20 yards per catch or something like that, I think the stat is. So Chark probably does have more upside than Shenault. Now, I think Shenault flies a little bit under the radar, so it is pretty close with those two. But I do think if you're shooting for that upside, I think Chark has a little more upside than Shenault. Arnold or Uzomah is a good question. I think I'm going to lean Uzomah. I'm more confident in his role. I don't know what Dan Arnold's snap's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a couple snaps. I also wouldn't be surprised if he plays over half the game. He hasn't had a ton of practices, so you never know. But I think Uzomah's the safer route. I actually don't mind CJ Uzomah, right? When he was healthy, he had a couple big games. He got injured last year, but he's a relatively talented receiving tight end. I think he flies under the radar a bit, right? So you got to kind of think off the radar here, try to get different. Yes, he hasn't done a ton through the first 3 weeks, but if you look at his snap counts, he's still playing majority of the games, 70% of snaps last game. So even though he hasn't had a ton of targets, I think he's someone that could win you a tournament, right? I think he'll be pretty low owned, and I think he has a chance to get in the end zone. Lawrence, Mixon, or Robinson, captain, FanDuel. I mean, the safe option is probably Robinson there. Mixon, captain to the moon. I think he's going to be one of the more popular captain plays. But yeah, can't go wrong with Mixon. Thoughts on Tate? I think Tate's a pretty solid value. Again, he played over 50% of the snaps last game. He had a couple of big games last year when the Bengals were banged up, so for sure in play for salary relief. On FanDuel, most people have Burrow in the captain. Yeah, so obviously quarterbacks in the captain are way more viable on FanDuel. I think Burrow is right up there with one of the safer options. I think I'm going to go Bengals stack with Hollister's only Jag. Yeah, so Hollister is obviously viable. I just don't know with Dan Arnold playing how much that takes away from Hollister. Hollister played about 70% of snaps last game, and he had 6 targets. He's really cheap. So if you think Dan Arnold is not going to play a ton, then I do like Jacob Hollister value. My issue is Arnold's active. So, what's going to happen here? Rank the Jags wide receivers. So, I don't know if I would... I'll say this again. I think Marvin Jones is the safest option. So, safest option, Marvin Jones, I think, just because of the target share. Right? He's averaging about 10 targets a game. I think Chark's the guy that has the most upside. He's the big play guy. He can go out and get you 25 to 30 fantasy points. And then Shenault is safe, but not as safe as Marvin Jones. He is cheaper. He's going to play out of the slot, get those short routes, but I don't think he has as much upside. So, depends what you're playing. The safest one is Marvin Jones Jr. I think the one that has the most upside is Chark. And then Shenault is the cheapest and relatively safe too, I would say. Not playing Burrow on FanDuel, easy fade. He's going to be popular, so if you're confident that maybe Mixon gets it in on the ground a couple times, then yeah, you can make the argument to fade Burrow. Manhurst is probably going to pass. He's a blocking tight end. Would rather roll the dice on those other guys. I'd rather take a shot on Hollister or Dan Arnold. Robinson sneaky captain with high inactive. I don't know if it boosts Robinson up necessarily. I think Dare probably gets those snaps. So James Robinson, I don't think it's a massive boost with that news. Why is QB an easy fade on FanDuel? It's not. I think QB is where you want to go majority of the time for captain on FanDuel. PPR sit 1, Pittman, Golladay, Zach Moss. Ooh, so for season long. Probably Moss. What's up, DK? What's up, Tommy? How are you getting different tonight? Usually I leave salary on the table. That's what I do a lot of the times. Last slate, I built a pretty popular build with Jalen Hurts in the captain. And what I did was, instead of playing Devonta Smith, I left some salary on the table and played Jalen Reagor. So that's my plan again tonight is I'm going to leave some salary on the table. I think we can still do Hollister versus Arnold, might lower ownership on both. Yeah, I think both are still playable. It's just a little bit more of a question mark, right? If Dan Arnold was out tonight, then I would really like Jacob Hollister as value. I think he would be probably the top value play in the slate. Let's see. Mixon, Lawrence, Boyd, Robinson, McPherson. Okay. Robinson captain with Burrow, Jones, Mixon, Tate, Uzomah, or Jones captain with Boyd, Burrow, Mixon, Laviska, Tate. I think I like the second one a little more. Captain Boyd, I don't think he's going to be super popular. He'll play out of the slot a decent amount, Tyler Boyd. I think he flies under the radar a bit, but I think he's a pretty safe option. I do. Tate captain viable. So yeah, if you go someone super cheap like a Tate, like a Dare, like a Hollister, it's playable for sure. It's high risk, but as I said, a couple people asked me. So there's 2 cheap guys I mentioned. You could go like Team Jam in last slate. That was Ertz and Cedric Wilson both ended up getting the end zone. So, like, if you can land one of those cheap guys that scores or has like a few catches, you're pretty much set because then you can jam in the rest of the guys. So it is a little bit risky. But if that one cheap guy you play in the captain gets in the end zone, you're probably going to cash. So a little bit more of a high risk, high reward strategy, but I'm good with that. Yeah, there's a few guys I think are viable for that build. Robinson or Jones at captain? I think for me it would be Jones. Can I play Jones, Jr., and Chark and fade T-Law? Yeah, you don't have to like correlate like that. Like, I think there's too many people that try to correlate lineups. They're playing a wide receiver with the captain. They have to play the quarterback. Like, you want to get unique, at least for large field tournaments, I think. Guys, we're almost at 150 viewers. Thank you. Again, make sure if you enjoyed to hit that like button and to subscribe. I'll be breaking down all the show and sites as well as doing live streams as well. And if you guys are curious for NBA preseason, I already have a video up breaking up Sunday's Showdown slate, even though there's a lot of news still to come out for that. Burrow overpriced. Lawrence sucks if you're going to have to throw. Thoughts? Yeah, I think you can get away with fading either quarterback. You know, the argument to fading Burrow is they're pretty big favorites. There's a chance that they're playing from a big lead in the second half that he doesn't have to throw. Right, he only threw 18 times last game. For Lawrence, he's got a terrible offensive line, but he's most likely to be playing from behind and have to air it out, right? So, like, kind of like Jalen Hurts last show on slate, garbage time, but who cares, right? He got us there in garbage time. So I think you could see that from Lawrence, where it's like they're playing from 2 to 3 score deficit in the second half and just has to air it out. Is 5 Bengals a good place? So the Bengals on slot, that's fine, right? I think it's going to be a pretty popular build, 5-2 or 4 or 5-1 or 4-2, I should say. Jamar Chase captain with Mixon, Burrow, Chark, McPherson, and Hollister. Okay. I'm feeling I'm going 4-1 stack with just Jones for Jags. That's fine. Again, like if I'm going to overload on a team, I think I would rather overload on the Bengals than the Jags. If you tell me what the middle maker lineup's going to be, it would be much appreciated. I wish I had that answer for you. Jones Jr. or Robinson to go with Lawrence and Chark. So you have Lawrence and Chark. I think both are pretty safe options, right? Robinson's going to play majority of the game, is involved in the pass game, and Jones has been, the guy that has been targeted the most. I think Robinson's going to be lower owned for what it's worth. So if you're building a somewhat chalky lineup and you want to get different, maybe you do go Robinson over Jones. I think Jones will get more ownership. Take captain or a stud on a 3-man contest. I mean, if you go someone cheap in the captain, it's a riskier build. So the safer build is probably to go someone expensive in the captain. I don't care what to do. Boyd in my season long. I don't know whether to play him tonight or bench him. I would rather play Boyd than Cordell Patterson. Yeah. If I'm playing multiple lines, Tavon Austin viable, sneak in a couple if you want to get different with Tate. I probably wouldn't. Where's Tavon Austin? He didn't. Wait. I'll say he's in the IR. Oh, wait. Activated from injury reserve ahead of Thursday's game. Okay. I mean, you never know. I probably wouldn't do it, though. But if you're if you're making multiple lineups, maybe throw him in one. Carlos Hyde out. Yeah, Carlos Hyde's out. It's a good catch. I didn't realize that Tavon Austin was actually available. Yeah, favorite captain, go over that on Patreon, kind of my favorite build, optimal build, where I'll be going for GPPs, all that good stuff. Thoughts on Chenault? I don't think he's going to be super popular running the short routes out of the slot, but he's cheap. Jag should be putting him behind. I think he's a decent play. Fading Lawrence tonight, I think you can get away with it. Lawrence turnover prone, offensive line is terrible, so you don't have to play Trevor Lawrence. I'll never forget COVID NBA year, the hours logged, the DK live streams was insane. Excited to get back to it next week. Hey, appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's going to be a grind. Right, videos and live streams every single day. I love it. I have no life, so just DFS all day long. That's great stuff for me. Overloading Jags just seems so much more unique. Thinking of overloading Jags will get you unique. Now, you don't have to get crazy, right? I think if you go 3-3, that will get you a relatively unique lineup. I think the Bengals onslaught going to be pretty popular tonight, right? Like a Burrow, Mixon, couple other Bengals, run it back with a Jags receiver or two. I think that's going to be the chalk build. Captain Chark with Lawrence, Robinson, Tate, Boyd, GPP. Go with me. Diego, would you go Lawrence or Robinson straight up? The safer option is definitely Lawrence, just because the quarterback's at the highest floor on the show on slate. For GPPs, though, I'm fine going to Robinson over Lawrence. So if it's a cash game, I go Lawrence. For GPPs, I think it's basically 50-50. I don't care what my gut says. Boyd doesn't do much. Okay, well, go with your gut. Always go with your gut. Obviously, I'm going to be wrong a ton. So always go with your gut. I always say that. Yeah, if you're not feeling Boyd, don't play him. Mixon, captain, Boyd, Burrow, Robinson, Tate, Uzoma. Yeah, I think it's a solid build. Is Tate a must value? No. There's other values, right? You have Dario Gambale. You have Jacob Hollister. You have the kickers, or actually only one kicker. So just real quick, the Jags kicker is not on the Showdown slate, right? Lambeau is their kicker, but he's not playing for Thursday's game, so he's out. Here, let me just refresh this. So, yeah, Lambeau's out. And they didn't add the other Jags kicker. Again, Carlos Hyde inactive too. So, fading Chase, leaning more towards Boyd. So I will say probably getting to Boyd is going to be a little bit easier, taking price in consideration. Right? You take a look at the both Cincinnati main wide receivers. Boyd's, go to the flex. Boyd is 7.4 as opposed to Chase at 10.2. So it's going to be easier to get Boyd in your lineup. The thing I'll say about Chase is I think he's gotten a little bit lucky with the touchdown variance, right? Touchdown variance, I never try to predict that. He's scored over a touchdown a game so far the first 3 games. I don't think that's going to continue. So, not saying he's out of play, but I think he might be a little bit over-owned because box score watching. And I don't think he's going to score every single game or average over a touchdown every single game. So I think it is easier to get to Boyd, taking price in consideration. Yeah, that's a good question, David. Hollister versus Ogunbowale. I think it's pretty close, right? The issue I have with Hollister is how much is Dan Arnold going to play? And with Ogunbowale, he's going to play the backup role. Ogunbowale might be slightly safer. I'll say this. If Arnold was inactive, it would be Hollister 100%. With Arnold playing, I just don't know how much that takes away from Hollister. So I think Dare might be the slightly safer option. I think both are firmly in play, though. Who do you like more as a captain, Boyd or Jones for GPP? I'll say Boyd, I guess. Chris Evans, third down back. I mean, him and P. Ryan are going to play a little bit for the Bengals, so P. Ryan played 21%, Evans 11%. Evans is the better pass-catching back of the two out of Michigan. That's kind of what he's known for. He's just not getting a ton of snaps. Now, maybe the snaps go up this game. You never know. So in a large field dart throw, I think it's viable, but you're not going to feel good about it when he played 11% of snaps last game. Boyd or Chalk? Are you saying Boyd or Chark? I think Boyd is safer. Chark, I think, has more upside. On the Thursday and Monday slate, would you play anyone in tonight's game? Thursday through Monday slate. So basically like the entire main slate. I think Mixon would be a guy I would consider. But other than that, I don't know if I would jam anyone else in on like the full slate. Captain Jones with Chark, Boyd, Mixon, Lawrence, and Tate. Okay, Auden Tate or Mike Thomas. So it's just going to come down to snaps with those two. Auden Tate almost outsnapped him 3-1. So I'm going to go for the guy that played more snaps. He's also a little bit higher in the depth chart. Ogunbowale or Tate. Pretty good question. I think that one's close too. Like I think those two plus Hollister are like the really cheap punt plays you can consider. Maybe a small lean to Tate. Thanks. So Dan Arnold is playing tonight. Unless I read that wrong, I saw he was available. Let me just bring it up on my phone. Dan Arnold. Let me just confirm it. People don't think he is playing. People don't think he's going to play a ton. Yeah, he's active. Once again, that one Twitter account that tweeted, what was it? The one random Texans receiver they said was starting. This Twitter account was just spreading fake news. They're saying Dan Arnold's starting. Like, you don't know that. Okay. But yeah, he's active. He's active. Thoughts on Mixon, captain? Going to be pretty safe play. Going to be popular, though. Senior report. Yeah, he's active. Active. Don't know about snap counts. The guess is he's not going to play a ton because it's short week and he hasn't got a lot of practice in. Chark viable, of course. I think he actually has the most upside of the Jags wide receivers. He played Chark and Jones and no T-Law. Yep, I think that's fine. All you guys know to find something. Yep, I just did a little Twitter search. He's active, but they don't know how much he's going to play. Does 33 build plus 700 left on the table? Yeah, I think so. Like, you don't have to get super crazy to get unique on a show on slate. Like, don't think you have to leave like $5,000 or something on the table. Yeah, let's see. So Vegas odds, yes, it's 45.5 over under still. Yep, so I'm gonna lean the guy that played more, right? Last game, Auden Tate played 57%, Mike Thomas 21%. Now, taking ownership in consideration, I think Tate gets more ownership. So in a large field GPP, can you make the argument for Mike Thomas? Sure. I think he plays less, but you could always catch a touchdown, right? We've seen crazy things happen. Look what happened last show on slate, right? The chalk was the spend-up wide receivers. It was Cooper, it was CeeDee Lamb, it was Devontae Smith. Every single one busted. So you can get off some chalk, right? Crazy things happen in the show on slate. So, like, I think maybe a unique lineup would be fade Mixon, right? I think Mixon's going to be the most popular play. It's going to be a scary fade, but you never know, right? Weird things happen. Maybe the Jags get off to an early lead and the Bengals had to play catch-up. You never know. Fading Chark feels like it's going to hurt me. I think he's got the most upside of the Jags wide receivers. Chalk or Boyd. Again, Boyd's a safer option. I think Chark, I'm guessing that's who you're talking about, has more upside. I think Chark, we haven't really seen the big game from DJ Chark yet, but it's there, right? We saw some big games from him last year. He's at a relatively cheap price point, 7.2. 12, 4, 6 targets. He's running the deep route. So he's a guy that can go break a long one, right? He can go for a 40-yard touchdown. Boyd, I don't think it has as much upside as Chark. What else do we got, guys? 652. Okay, I can be live for good another 5+ minutes or so. Captain Boyd with Robinson, Jamar Chase, Tate, Chark, and Burrow. All right, I think that's going to get you a relatively unique lineup. Fading Lawrence and fading Mixon. I think it'll be pretty unique. Shoulder injury for Hyde. Oh, that's why he's inactive? Okay. Shoulder issue. Okay. Yep, so again, Dare is viable. Again, Dare, $200. I think 25, 30-ish% of the snaps for Dare is a pretty fair guess. Right now, you got Mixon captain with Hollister, Lawrence, Burrow, Tate, Robinson. Okay. Jamar Chase or Robinson. I mean, I think Robinson I would lean to because I think he's going to come in at lower ownership than Chase. So for GPPs, I think Robinson makes for an interesting tournament play tonight because I don't think a ton of people play him. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe people overreact to the Carlos Hyde news and jam in James Robinson. That could be true too. I guess I'm trying to gauge what the public's thinking. Chark captain with Chase, Burrow. Okay. Is this good? Captain Boyd with Burrow, Chark, Jones, Mixon, and Tate. No, I think that's fine. That's perfectly fine with me. Book it, Trevor Lawrence running TD. Trevor Lawrence does have a little bit of rushing upside. He does. Tavon Austin, he's active, right? Unless I missed that. He is active. Hold on, let me confirm that. Okay. I'm pretty sure he's active. Tavon. No, not. Tavon Austin was activated. We'll be curious if he, Jamal Agnew, LaVisca will get some snaps of that backfield. Okay, so it looks like he's active from what people are saying. Yeah, so large field tournament play. We have no idea how many snaps he's going to play. You never know. He might get a couple snaps out of the backfield, right? Appreciate that, Hayden. Yeah, guys, hit that like button. I'll be live for another 5 minutes. We're at 51 likes. Can we maybe get to 70 before I get out here? Would appreciate that. T-Law or Burrow with Chark as captain. I mean, if you're building more of an optimal build, you probably want to go with the Jags quarterback. Captain Marvin Jones and Boyd, or Captain Boyd and James Robinson. I think the second one's going to come in at lower ownership. Dare or Tate, I think it's pretty close. I think those two and Hollister, I think, are pretty close for value. Hollister, the only concern obviously is the Darnold, how much he takes away. Dare, I would think, kind of picks up the Carlos Hyde role. And then Tate, I would assume, still plays around half the game. So yeah, the Dare versus Tate, I think, is very close. I guess since we saw 50+% snaps last game for Tate, he might be a little bit safer. Chase is my fade, low reception, speed dependent. Yeah, he's scored over a touchdown so far the first 3 games. I don't think that continues. Evans, Tate, Ogunbowale, which one you like the best? Yeah, it's going to be either Tate or Ogunbowale. I think it's very close there, those two plus Hollister. I'm not really looking to Evans. I mean, a large field tournament play, sure. If you think he plays more. He did only play 11% of snaps, which is not really enough for me to feel confident. Talk myself into full Jags onslaught thanks to the news on Arnold. Yeah, of course. It's going to be a unique lineup. A full Jags onslaught will for sure be unique. Would you play kicker? Well, the only kicker you can play is the Bengals kicker. So I think he's a pretty safe option. Tavon Austin was his 2015, exactly. I'm surprised he's still in the NFL. Evans or Tate? Tate. It just comes down to snaps, right? Evans played 11%. Tate played over 50%. So just a thing of opportunity. All right, guys, I can stay on for another couple minutes if you have any last-minute questions. If not, I'm going to hop out of here. Appreciate you guys coming and check out the live stream, right? I'll be live for every single show on Slate. So Thursday, Sunday, Monday, as well as the main slates. And then NBA, too. So with NBA being games every day and then NFL 3 games a week, you're going to see me a lot videos plus live streams. DK, that's 2 catches. DK, if that catches 2 balls, that's a W. If Tate, yeah. Jones Jr., Boyd at captain. Again, so I've been asked that a couple times. I think it's pretty close. I think Boyd comes in maybe a little bit lower ownership. Like, I would think Marvin Jones is probably the most popular Jags receiver, right? I could be wrong, but just based on snap, or not based on snaps, based on targets, I think MJJ gets the most ownership. Any Bengals players out? T. Higgins, and that's it, right? Yeah. Just T. Higgins. Thoughts on Thomas? So Thomas is viable pivot off of those 3 other value plays I mentioned. He only played 21% of the snaps, which is a little bit concerning. But you guys know anything can happen on the Showdown slate. So rolling the dice on a guy like Mike Thomas in tournaments is certainly viable. You're not going to feel good about it, but hey, who knows? Maybe his snaps go up, and maybe Auden Tate's go down. Who gets the back roll? Yeah, so Dare Ogunbowale is going to be the backup. He's $200. That's viable. Don't sleep on Laviska. Yeah, I think Laviska is going to be relatively low owned. He hasn't had a big game yet. He's not running deep routes, but he probably gets a good amount of targets out of the slot. So I think Laviska is a fine play. Yeah, Dare Ogunbowale is going to be the guy that is going to be the backup. Now, you never know. Maybe Tavon gets a couple snaps in the backfield too. But yeah, need to go. Appreciate that, man. Thanks. All right, I'm going to hop out of here, guys. Good luck. Enjoy this game. Let's hope someone in here takes down the Millie. And I will see you guys on Sunday for the main slate. Good luck tonight, guys.